Where does the height start and what you're looking at?
Well, it starts at 6'10" and works its way down. And of course, we feel good about the recruiting year, and we're bringing in people, and we have some that are here now, and it looks real good.
But in addition to everything else that we know about this terrible storm, we know that Eloise mangled many memories while at the same time she destroyed a great deal of dreams. Bill Spencer, Panama City Beach, Florida, for Channel 10 Newsbeat.
The derailment was a bad one, leaving the freight cars and oil tankers crushed, broken, and squashed beside the railroad track and in the culvert. There were no injuries. The cost of the total damage has not yet been determined, but is expected to be extensive. Allen and Wrecker arrived on the scene about 8 this morning to clear the cars from the track in the immediate area. How many cars were involved? Boxcars filled with mineral wool around as Wrecker pulled them from the track. Fortunately, gas tanker cars more than a dozen men worked diligently on the cleanup operation today. When the accident occurred, the train was headed east on an interchange run to ICG's yard at Choctaw Point. Work on building the railroad track back up was to begin as soon as the train was cleared from the area and expected to be completed in the next day or so. Sally Jasper, Channel 10 Newsbeat.
An estimated 4 million cubic feet of natural gas spewed into the atmosphere in North Mobile County this morning, stopping traffic for over 2 hours on Highway 43 south of Mount Vernon. And for County Road crewman Mike Hattenstein, this Monday morning started out like a nightmare.
Well, I started to grade this road here, and as I got down in the ditch, started to pull the ditch, my grader blade hit that line, and it was all she wrote. Yeah.
The line exposed?
I don't believe it was. I didn't see it. And I was looking pretty good, and I didn't see it.
Hattenstein's grader blade tore a hole in a 12-inch natural gas line belonging to Clark Mobile Gas Company. Fair clamp. What's the real danger here?
Well, the only big danger is catching the fire. You know, a vehicle come past the spark something set it on fire.
But that didn't happen, and after 2 hours of waiting, workmen were able to make the repairs with no injuries reported. Officials did not put a dollar amount on the gas bill. From Mount Vernon, this is Wayne Barnett, Channel 10 Newsbeat.
The decision for license renewal fees to remain the same was not adopted until County Attorney Maury Freelander checked with Mobile City officials to see if they had reduced or increased liquor license fees. The city fathers did not, so the county agreed to allow establishments to renew their licenses without upping the fees, which they admit are already on the high side of what's permitted. In other business, the commissioners voted to continue paying their fair share to the Youth Aid Division in the Sheriff's Department. The county's share of the Law Enforcement Planning Agency federal grant, which makes the division possible, is about $5,000. The commissioners also okayed a request by Judge James Strickland to enter into a contract with the Alabama Development of Youth Services to house up to 9 runaway boys at Mobile County's Youth Center. The move is expected to increase county revenue by about $2,400. Sally Jasper, Channel 10 Newsbeat.
39-year-old Mary Green of Marlow, Alabama, had surgery done on her this morning to remove a .22 caliber bullet from her chest. The bullet was taken to the state toxicology lab in Mobile to see if it matches a bullet taken from the body of 63-year-old Johnny Lucasen Sr. and the pistol Fairhope police say was used to murder Lucasen. Mrs. Green is being held in the intensive care unit at Thomas Hospital in Fairhope. When she's released, and that could come in about 2 days, Fairhope police say she will be charged with first-degree murder while attempting a felony. The incident began early yesterday morning, shortly after Johnny Lucasen opened his grocery store. A woman entered, pointed a pistol, and demanded money. After she got it, she shot Lucasen in the chest, but he wrestled the gun away from her and shot her in the chest. Patrolman Ray Harbison and James Kennard were first on the scene.
Well, we arrived at the store and saw Mr. Lucasen laying on the ground. We asked him what had happened, and he said that a woman had shot him, and that he had shot a woman. And we didn't have to talk to him anymore, and the ambulance arrived and took him to Thomas Hospital.
Lucasen died a few hours later, and Mrs. Green was taken to the hospital after she ran to a friend's house. This is Bill Calvo, Channel 10 Newsbeat. At the Harlem It has been conservatively estimated that within the police jurisdiction of Mobile City, there are between 150 and 200,000 dogs and cats, many roaming free the streets and are homeless. Years ago, the city passed a law requiring a $1 license tag for all dogs. This money was to be used for the city pound function. Today, only 60 people have such a license for their pet dog. The local veterinarians used to collect the fee for the city, but stopped.
That the association has been to the Mobile City Commission and requested that the laws, the statutes that are now be enforced.
Some people misunderstood the reasoning behind the license.
Here's the people of the city of Mobile dog tag, which costs $1, and is the cost of the license required. Permitted the animal to run on the street without being disturbed by the dog catcher.
The vets would like to see a higher license fee for all dogs and cats, and the money used for its intended purpose and not diverted to other agencies. But reportedly, the city commissioners feel the law unenforceable. Yet other cities in Alabama do enforce their laws and collect hundreds of thousands of dollars for their efforts. It is reasonable to believe the city is losing close to $250,000 simply by not enforcing the very laws they created to gather money. Channel 10 Newsbeat.
The huge crane appeared
said to be totally destroyed and reportedly has set construction back 5 to 6 months. Channel 10 News was stopped at the gate of Kaiser Fabricators and told we would not be allowed to film at the scene where the accident happened. Yet it was just 2 weeks ago we were invited out there to do a story on the giant crane. Despite the lack of cooperation from officials, however, we did get film of the collapsed giant from the air and from the deck of a tugboat from Tugboat Incorporated. When the collapse occurred, there were about 30 men working on the project, but miraculously there were no injuries reported. The crane was being built by Rigging International for the purpose of lifting 1,100-ton natural gas tanks aboard ships. When completed, it would have stood 320 feet, making it one of the tallest structures in Alabama with a lifting capacity of 1,400 tons. Now, it is in bits and pieces and sprawled out over the entire construction site. It will probably be several days before the investigation is completed and the cause of the collapse is determined. This is Sally Jasper, Channel 10 Newsbeat.
The engine on the school bus caught fire yesterday. The 20 students aboard panicked and all tried to get off at once. 3 young women were slightly injured and were taken to the hospital, treated, and released. The fire apparently was caused by a leaky or burst oil line. There was no serious damage, but the billowing smoke could have caused the driver to lose control, resulting in a serious accident. The incident occurred some 5 miles north of Axis on Highway 43. It has raised the question of whether or not a state vehicle inspection law might have helped prevent it. Although it is not mandatory, since there is no the Mobile County School System does have a bus maintenance program whereby the buses are checked and problems are found fixed before they can cause major trouble. Through periodic checks of the ignition system and other major areas, mechanics can catch possible problems. Then major repair work can be done. An effort was made last year to pass a statewide vehicle inspection law in Alabama, but it failed. Another attempt is expected this year. Authorities feel a strong vehicle inspection law could prevent problems, but a weak law would be of no value. But an inspection law, if nothing else, will force school bus operators to keep their vehicles in good operating condition. John Keffer, Channel 10 Newsbeat.
It's been 10 years since then. A lot of in 1966, comparatively worth $1.15. But if the $2 bill is worth less, it doesn't seem to bother Mobilians. Most Mobile banks say the request today for the new bill was better than expected.
We're generally asking some, but we have had our instructors begin with all of our customers.
The government does expect one problem. The bill could become too popular.
Well, then after so long a time, it'd be like the used silver dollar, the half, the quarter that we
About 225 million bills were printed for today's distribution, and another 175 million will be printed before year's end. The government hopes that with the $2 bill, production of the $1 bill can be reduced, saving Uncle Sam between $4 and $7 million a year. This is Wayne Barnett, Channel 10 News.
The amendment was presented by City Attorney Fred Collins and quickly adopted by the city fathers. The new law states that if a person is found guilty of loitering, he will be fined up to $200 and given a maximum jail sentence of 6 months. The commissioners also reviewed a letter from the city's Inspection Services Department concerning the unsafe condition of the Matt Sloan Fire Station building in downtown Mobile. Mayor Robert Doyle said the building suffered a great deal of damage when the tunnel was under construction.
They use the method of getting in at the tie-ins or fittings or whatever it was, and basically the vibrating
damaged it by causing the cracks to widen. The roof is in bad repair, and the building generally is not in good shape at all.
The commissioners agreed they would accelerate work on the drawings and plans for the new fire station to be located at the foot of Slava Street. At the conclusion of this morning's meeting, the mayor posed for pictures, or rather, posed his broken foot for pictures. Sally Jasper, Channel 10 News.
First of all, this bill is to increase the number that sit on.
First of all, this bill proposes
These members will be elected by the supervisory committee and required to live in districts.
The 5 personnel board member districts would be set up so that it is likely a black would be elected to the board. The bill would also expand the county supervisory committee, which elects the personnel board, and it would be expanded from 17 to 21 members with representatives from county and city unions added. The bill would require the personnel board to help train the disadvantaged for difficult municipal jobs and establish a grievance procedure to help better relations between employees and employers. The final segment of the bill would make personnel board rulings subject to review by the supervisory committee.
So consequently, if the personnel board sits down and they come up with the citizens of Mobile County, then the supervisor and vote it out should they feel that it's not in our best interest.
If the supervisory committee, it would weaken it and really wouldn't have a need for the.
Vaughn said he personally favors expansion of the personnel board from 3 to 5 members, but that he would rather see the members elected at large than from districts. And Representative Cooper said that he expects no opposition at this time to his bill from other members of the legislature. This is Bill Capro, Channel 10 Newsbeat. Call it lack of interest or lack of clear issues, but the candidates in the May 4th primary have been relatively quiet about this year's election. When they do take a stand, it's usually at gatherings like this one this morning at the University of South Alabama. Candidates for the Alabama Supreme Court Chief Justice, Public Service Commission President, and several countywide races were invited to express their feelings on the issue. Yes, USA Political Science Department. But even as the May 4th primary draws nearer, there was no shouting, name-calling, or mudslinging, which is further evidence that this year's election is the first in recent memory without a lot of rhetoric on specific issues. This is Bob Kennan, Channel 10 Newsbeat.
Today, Head Start workers from around the state met in Mobile. Their program is officially called Integration of Head Start Components Training Workshop, Cluster 1. One of its objectives is to provide opportunity through simulated activities for personnel to explore areas of role delineation, role acceptance, and program structuring that enhance the component coordination and integration process. Statewide, this program costs about $100,000 a year. Here in Mobile, the taxpayers spend about $40,000 to serve about 800 preschool children, or $500 per child per year, which has nothing to do with the $700 it will cost to put that child through the first grade of public education. Head Start is a child development program helping them adjust to other children and life as they see it. The 3 R's come later. 10% of Mobile's Head Start community is made up of handicapped children. This workshop will continue through tomorrow. Dick Darby, Channel 10 News.
Mobile today, Tom Walker, candidate for the presidency of the Alabama Public Service Commission, lashed out at two of his opponents, incumbent commissioners Juanita McDaniels and Jim Ziegler.
Walker accused both of grabbing headlines about high utility bills and yet taking time out to run for the PSC presidency. Particular criticism was directed against Jim Ziegler.
Never before in the history of our state, in my estimation, have we had a public official make so much noise about the problems that we face in our state, and then on the other hand, be so absent where the work is done.
Walker also criticized what he called the lack of technical staff and cited this as a reason for courts overturning PSC decisions. He also called for a change in Alabama law, which would make the state's Supreme Court the court of appeal for PSC cases and not the Montgomery Circuit Court, as is now the case.
When Walker was asked about what he expected to be the outcome of this race, he said he expects it to be a runoff between him and Jim Ziegler. This is Frank Curry, Channel 10 Newsbeat.
Task force is long and littered with facts and figures. Generally, the report is favorable, but the committee did make recommendations were outlined to Acting State Docs Director Robert Wolf in a meeting with state lawmakers this morning. Among other things, the task force recommended improvements on access roads to the docks. Quoting from the report, efforts are underway to obtain an overpass to eliminate any blockage by railroads at the main. The report also suggested general improvements to equipment at the docks, such as purchase and equipment fire trucks and establish a motor pool for general use vehicles. All in all, the task force was pleased with its findings.
Well, the main thing that I was impressed Wednesday morning it was invested. That impressed me. All the rest of the agencies that have state money and let it sit around and not draw interest could invest it as rapidly as the docs did. This particular issue would be in real good shape.
Biddle says this report will not affect
Biddle says this report will not affect state docs appropriations since it is not funded by the legislature. However, it will play an important role in any future request for bond issues. In a sense, the report will be a reference book for state lawmakers who have
10 Newsbeat.
From Montgomery, this is one.
Even before the celebration of Alabama Day, the congressional offices were complaining that no one in the host organization seemed to know or care what was going on. The host was the District of Columbia government, and some thought it might reflect a kind of hostility that some officials of the Washington government feel toward Alabama that showed, because things didn't go as scheduled. Senators Allen and Sparkman appeared as scheduled for the welcoming ceremony below the Capitol. Washington's Mayor Washington was a little late. Then the loudspeaker system wouldn't work. And in fact, after struggling for 20 minutes, the now delayed welcoming ceremony was delivered without most of the audience understanding what was being said to it. That was followed by a Dutch treat luncheon. The guests paid $4.50 a head for a congressionally cooked meal, and Lieutenant Governor Beasley was given a miniature glass Liberty Bell, not cracked, of course. And then the guests were invited to get on awaiting buses to ride to the Malcolm X School, where the students enacted their concepts of Alabama. The legislators all declined, because the appropriate location, Alabama Avenue Southeast, is the heart of Washington's ghetto. I'm John Chambers in Washington for Channel 10 Newsbeat.
Gulf Shores, Alabama is getting ready for the summer tourist season, the bicentennial at the same time. Even the police department is getting into the spirit of the 200th birthday of our nation with new bicentennial painted police cars. And some officers, like Sergeant John Farrow, are growing beards, which Chief J.E. Maples approved until August 1st. personnel, and cars, the 10-person police force of Gulf Shores has reason to celebrate the bicentennial. New businesses are going up also, and officials say they will be completed and ready for the summer tourist trade. So thus far, the bicentennial year for Gulf Shores, Alabama, has been a good one. This is Bob Kennan, Channel 10 Newsbeat.
The budget totals $33,250,000. This figure does not include the city's federally funded $25 million five-year community development project or $24 million six-year grant program. Commissioner of Finance Gary Greeno admits the new budget is an excellent one that addresses the priorities for the development of the city.
This budget which institutes control national decisions that I think will make it
Streets receives a major amount of money budgeted. This portion of the budget totaled about $13 million. Parks, recreational, and cultural matters received the second largest chunk of funds. However, there was no application for expansion of the city's library. Commissioner Lambert Mim said some people may wonder why a lot of the money is not spent in the area of police. Then explained that Mobile is fortunate in that they receive monies from law enforcement assistance agencies. The new capital improvements budget was prepared at the request of the commissioners by Patrick Kelly, Director of Fiscal Affairs. This is Sally Jasper, Channel 10 Newsbeat.
Two classes were sponsored by Unity World Systems and the Mobile Area Minority Contractors Association. The training program was provided free to those with careers in the telephone industry. The minority students have been trained in electronics theory, telephone systems, marketing, and the communications consulting field. But the measure of the program's success lies in how many of the graduates have jobs.
The measure of the program's success lies in how many of the graduates have jobs. We've got 5 jobs here for people out in the field now working installation, repairs, consulting, and some marketing. Major phone companies?
Area, and we also get develop systems in the industry.
Johnson said the big corporations can't produce technicians quickly enough, and his classes are helping to fill the demand. This is Bill Campbell, Channel 10 Newsbeat.
As the world's population explodes, we look for new and larger sources of food supply. Agriculture, or mariculture, direct us to the world's waters.
Here at the Mara Farms at Panama City, Florida, a 9-year project has been underway to hatch and grow commercially 3 types of shrimp found in the Gulf of Mexico. Several times a week, shrimp boats fly east by battery from south of Dauphin Island, bringing with them a precious cargo of from 500 to 1,000 brown female shrimp, which are prepared as spawn. The shrimp are kept aerated in coolers with water temperature of about 60 degrees and are offloaded onto trucks, then taken to Roy E. Ray Airport at Biola Battery, placed aboard a waiting plane, and flown to Panama City and the Mara Farms. The mother shrimp, bearing 5,000 to 50,000 eggs each, are placed in these 30,000-gallon hatching tanks, in which the water temperature is about 80 degrees, and over a period of about 2 or 3 days, they will lay their eggs. After about 2 weeks, the mother shrimp are commercially processed and sold. The hatched eggs then undergo about 12 transformations before they eventually removed from the tanks and placed in 2 300-acre ponds. Here, the fish are fed pelletized shrimp feed until they reach a harvestable size. The program is the first of its kind in America.
It is a difficult job. It is the gateway to the future. This really is only the beginning of marine farming, and we would look one, it is a major accomplishment if we can make this a profitable farm, and we indeed think we can.
In its program, Marafarms uses some 50 miles of specially treated nets. This year, they hope to hatch and grow some 3 million pounds of pink, white, and brown shrimp, after losing some 1.5 million pounds last year during Hurricane Eloise. The entire process takes from 4 to 6 months. Federal officials are now looking at it from a standpoint of providing more of this nation's food product.
Witnesses say just before this accident occurred, Richard Paul Mosley of Central Drive passed him at a high rate of speed on Interstate 10. Records show that as he attempted to exit at Dauphin Island Parkway, his car skidded 280 feet, rolled 3 times, and then came to rest, teetering on this concrete abutment about 15 feet above a ditch. His gas tank was found about 150 feet from the car. Mosley suffered a broken leg and a severe head laceration. He's described as in satisfactory condition at the University Medical Center. This is Wayne Barnett, Channel 10 Newsbeat.
If the Mobile City Commission approves an auditorium board recommendation today, it'll cost more to park in the auditorium parking lot for events. The board approved a request from Southern Car Park, which operates the lot, to increase the fee from 50 cents to $1 during events. The daytime rate of 25 cents would remain the same. The city commissioners would have to approve the new rates before they go into effect. Southern Car Park gets 32% of the parking fees, the remainder going to the city of Mobile, with Southern paying maintenance and expenses on the lot. Also, a letter of complaint was received claiming discrimination because a female radio personality was not permitted backstage to interview a performer. Auditorium manager Buddy Cluis said it was the policy not to allow backstage interviews to reduce confusion. He said interviews could be held in auditorium offices only with written consent of the producer of the show. Frank Curry, Channel 10 Newsbeat.
With the midnight deadline fast approaching, arrangements have already been made.
With the midnight deadline fast approaching, arrangements have already been made here at the U.S. Post Office for those filing late income tax returns. The downtown U.S. Postal Service office here in Overflow window will be open until midnight for late filing.
The drive-up windows, too. All of this will be done in order to get April 15th postmarks on the IRS form. The Internal Revenue Service says its taxpayer service department has the biggest workload ever, due in part to the new Earned Income Credit. This is a refund for low-income people who may not have paid any taxes at all, a refund of up to $400. Those who may not have claimed it will get it anyway since forms are being checked. IRS officials say the average refund so far in Alabama is $373. The filing of returns is a little behind last year because in 1974 the tax rebate provided an early filing incentive. In all, there are some 100,000 to 150,000 Alabama taxpayers who are going to be getting their returns filed just under the gun. Their efforts will be done at a high rate of speed, hopefully, and may result in errors which may or may not cost them. So as the midnight oil burns, many are letting their fingers do the walking, and it's not necessarily through a telephone book. Bill Spencer, Channel 10 Newsbeat.
Majority of them like which I did, and it was a smart move. I really like it here.
Well, now, if you would introduce
Leary, and we've been skating together 2 years, and she's along with me, haha, and several others, right?
Well, both my parents were skaters, and I turned professional on the show.
According to one of the casting directors, Elizabeth Kigley, the movie will be called Close Encounters of the Third Kind, a science fiction thriller written by Steven Spielberg, who directed Sugarland Express and a thing called Jaws. Of the 52 speaking parts, 20 of those parts will be played by Mobilians. The movie is being billed as the largest budgeted picture of the year and is estimated to cost some $3 million in the Mobile area. The movie will star Richard Dreyfuss, star of Jaws, and will feature a number of Mobilians.
Nearly anything is possible when you've got a general supervisor stuck.
An audition call has been issued for 10 o'clock tomorrow morning at the downtown Holiday Inn for a 4-year-old boy, 3-year-old girl, 8-year-old boy, a fat teenage boy, and men between the age of 35 and 50. We're told a fantastic set is being built in the large double hangar on Brookley Field, but we're not allowed to see it. Columbia Pictures wants to protect the plot from other companies in the industry. This is Wayne Barnett, Channel 10 Newsbeat.
Last fall, when Hurricane Eloise made landfall, she brought high winds and waters and great destruction. The 1,261-foot-long Okaloosa Island Pier at Fort Walton Beach, Florida, was hard hit. A combination of past tornado damage and Hurricane Eloise destruction undermined girders and resulted in the closure of 400 feet of that pier. The damages total about $500,000, but a dispute has cropped up. The insurance company maintains the damage was caused by wave action and not Hurricane Eloise.
Well, Bill, I hear by the grapevine that we do have a court hearing that will be heard in front of a jury trial in June of this year against the insurance company for payment to rebuild the pier.
The pier cost about $1,250,000 and was considered one of the best tourist attractions in Okaloosa County, Florida. A new 300-foot-long extension was opened in 1975, is now closed. With the closing of part of that pier, business has been slowed at 2 concessions leading to the facility. But pier officials say fishing is still very, very good.
But something good has come from the damage caused by Hurricane Eloise. Fallen girders have formed a natural fishing reef off the end of the Okaloosa Island Pier, a reef which will probably remain even once the pier is repaired. This is Bill Spencer in Fort Walton Beach, Florida for Channel 10 Newsbeat.
It was called Book Character Day at Orchard Elementary this morning, and more than 100 of the kids came to school dressed as their favorite person from the past. Students from all 5 grades gathered in the gym, and those in costumes were called to the stage to answer questions about the person they were portraying. Judges were on hand to select the best from each class. It was really something to hear why some of the first graders selected the people they did. For instance, why did you want to be Martha Washington? Dress as a pilgrim.
Plant popcorn. And it's pretty.
Be Martin Luther King.
Fought civil rights for all people.
Why did you want to be Daisy Crockett today?
George Washington Carver.
Why did you want to be George Washington Carver?
But the children all agreed that it was a real fun way to learn about the people in the NY. This is Sally Jasper, Channel 10 Newsbeat.
It's been 3 days now since this story came to light, and since then, lots of allegations from both sides of unfair reporting by the media, and hence, leaders that if stiffer action isn't taken against the officers involved, there could be an uprising of the black community. Black leaders told city officials yesterday that all officers involved in the incident should be fired. Thus far, Patrolman Michael Patrick is the only one to lose his job over the incident. Glenn Diamond, the victim of the alleged hanging incident, is in jail, charged with taking part in the robbery of a Hart's Fried Chicken, where he allegedly struck the manager in the head with a gun. And today, this whole story took on a new twist.
Today, this whole story took on a new twist.
Case and evaluate it. If you prosecute the robbery case, I will consider
That's an account of a meeting between D.A. Graddick and Glenn Diamond's defense attorney, in which the offer of dropping the hanging matter would be considered in return of dropping the robbery charges against Diamond. An account of that conversation appeared in this morning's Mobile Register, and Clint Brown, the defense attorney, immediately filed a motion in circuit court asking that the robbery charges be dismissed. Brown refused a filmed interview, but told this reporter he is outraged at the Graddick remarks and called it a gross distortion of their conversation. Graddick says no action will be taken on the motion until Diamond is arraigned. Meanwhile, the DA's office has begun their investigation of the hanging incident, subpoenaing police records as evidence. Those records were handed over today by Police Chief Don Riddle. Just another of the many things to be investigated by the district attorney and the FBI. This is Wayne Barnett, Channel 10 Newsbeat. Smuggled aboard planes through checked baggage. Here at Bates Field, there's been little reaction.
Airline employees we talked to were reluctant to describe the new safety measures, but the idea is basically random inspection of checked baggage. Employees watch the passengers checking in, comparing them to guidelines set up by the FAA. There's no system used in inspecting the baggage, but if a customer refuses permission, the airline may refuse to let him board the plane. All three airlines using Mobile reported almost no complaints about the regulations, saying most passengers favor them and don't mind the small inconvenience. In fact, many of the passengers accustomed to metal detector and hand luggage searches haven't realized the new measures are in effect. This is Bill Campo, Channel 10 Newsbeat.
Sam Beatty told Mobile's news media he favors a new canon of judicial ethics which allows coverage of courtroom trials by the electronic media in Alabama. As to speedy trials, he explained that under new rules and judicial articles, the Supreme Court supervises this. The Place One candidate said the overcrowding of Alabama prisons would require both judges and juries alike to take a closer look at the terms that convicts must serve in Alabama prisons. He says he is in favor of separating prisoners who can and can't be rehabilitated within the Alabama prison system. Bill Spencer, Channel 10 Newsbeat. Her name is the London Bus, for just 6 months ago she was wending her way through the streets of that city. For the last 3 weeks, her new home has been Fort Walton Beach, Florida, where she has been making her appointed rounds from Okaloosa Island to the downtown Fort Walton Beach area. That city's Downtown Businessmen's Association bought her for $14,000, and Association President Sam Taylor says the delightful double-decker has received a warm welcome.
But the novelty of it, the uniqueness of this bus is causing everybody to want to ride it. At the present time, we're not in the middle of our best season. Our season is about 3 weeks away. And then we expect to have many people riding from the motels on the island downtown to shop. Most of our riders right now, in fact, today we have some brownies that's going to ride the bus, probably 12 of them. But what they want to do is get on the upper deck and see what it feels like to ride on a double-decker bus.
The London Bus makes her scheduled
runs 6 days a week at a fare of only 50 cents for a round trip. She does so at a top speed of 32 miles an hour. Speed enough for a journey into tomorrow aboard a memory motor bus. Bill Spencer, Channel 10 Newsbeat.
Ira Matthews is a member of the Mobilize Mobile Council, a nonprofit group that has come up with a 44-year master plan for the Port of Mobile. He presented the plan to the Mobile Area Chamber of Commerce's Ports and Waterways Committee today. The plan, in this 21-page booklet form, has been in existence for 8 months. It is a comprehensive plan that outlines the port's history, its lack of expansion, lack of serious foul weather protection, and potential for economic greatness if improved. There are specific recommendations in the plan, such as an entry overpass to the docks to bypass trade tie-ups in existence now. In fact, the report's basic content is virtually identical to this week's legislative task force report of 400 to 500 pages that was compiled at taxpayer expense for a legislative committee. But this one was done at personal cost of the local council, and the recent task force investigation did not even contact the Mobilize Mobile Council.
Well, we were not familiar with the fact that the investigative body was going into this phase of the docks. I understood that they were investigating the current operation of the docks. Specifically, our plan is a long-range plan, and we are not involved in any current investigation of the docks. In fact, we think the state docks is doing a marvelous job.
That everyone wants to improve the Alabama State Docks operation, but it's also obvious that the state-operated facilities problems are so embroiled in politics that a revamping of the complex's operation, specifically a separate authority with financial responsibility to operate as a profit-making body out of the political arena, may have to be the first action taken. Way to prevent
That is the only way to prevent the Port of Mobile from becoming the ghost port.
Sally Jasper, Channel 10 News.
This is Sally Jasper, Channel 10 News Group.
Sometime before the year is out, the 2,000 bureaucrats working in this building will move across the street to that building. HEW's new South Portal building, the cost $44.7 million. The man in charge, HEW Secretary David Matthews, would have you believe that it won't cost you a cent.
Yes, sir. Do you have an estimate of the cost of moving this department across the street?
As I understand it, there have been no allocations for moving costs or furnishing, so I guess the cost would be zero.
But that's hardly the case. Just moving the furniture across the street will cost the taxpayers $65,000. Hooking up the phones will cost another $41,000. The signs in the building, so taxpayers and employees don't get lost, will cost another $20,000, and that's just the beginning. $217,000 will be spent for privacy screens for the employees in the open workspace. They're trying to cut down on the fishbowl effect those using the spaces already complain of. And when Matthews and his top echelon are in their new headquarters, HEW employees from across the street will move into Matthews' old building, and employees from another building will move into their place. The government calls it backfilling, but by the time it's all over, it's estimated to cost $4,500 per man and woman who are working for the second largest federal department of government. John Chambers in Washington for Channel 10 Newsbeat.
Mobilians came by the hundreds with high hopes of being discovered. The word was out that producers of the new film, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, needed about 20 people from this area for speaking parts in the movie. Primarily, the call was for children, and mothers by the dozens, and fathers too, arrived on time hoping for their child's big break in showbiz. Elizabeth Kegley, who today directed the casting call for the production, said she was very pleased with the turnout.
They have been very hospitable, very gracious about everything, and we do have a lot of talent in Mobile. We're very pleased with it.
Do you think you'll be able to cast all the parts that you hope to cast?
Definitely, definitely. We found a lot of good talent here.
Miss Kegley selected a number of people to read parts the way